Most of our disappointments and frustrations come from expectations. What's the word, please? Of where we should be. What should be happening right now. What was supposed to happen. Where you should be is an illusion. What is it? And my Zen teacher, Sherry Huber, if you haven't met her or read her books, I'd highly recommend them. Sherry Huber, C-H-E-R-I, and then H-U-B-E-R. A couple of years ago, I ran a retreat with her, and we do some work with her also. She's awesome. She's a great author, very, very easy to read and understand. But what she says is that should is a word we use to beat ourselves up with. And I've added, it's also a word we use to beat other people up with too, isn't it? And so first what happens, listen to this, our ego mind creates this fictitious image. What kind of image? Of where we should be. And then it beats us up for not being there. How many people can relate to this? And even though the entire thing was all made up in the first place. And this obviously can lead to feelings of a lack of self-trust, a lack of self-confidence, and even self-betrayal. Because we didn't do what we said we would, or we're not where we think we should be. All right? And this can be in any area of your life. It can even be in school. Raise your hand if you're still in school right now in your life. Good. It can still be in school, where you should be here and you're doing this. And so, step number 1 was to identify our emotions in this arena. And step number 2 is to express them in this arena. And the third step is, as you all know, to forgive yourself. What's the words? Forgive yourself for not meeting your potential or expectations or the expectations of others, or for not even having a vision or a clear direction. And very, very essential that we live in the reality of what is versus the current old story of what we should be. Do you understand what I'm saying about this? That your original, what you wrote down of where you saw yourself was completely made up and fictitious. And anything you've got emotions around all that is also made up too, because you're dealing from a premise of falseness, a premise of a creation, of a figment of your imagination based on other people's thoughts or your thoughts of expectations that are not reality, and they're not your current reality for sure. You understand what I'm saying here? And so to beat yourself up for not meeting something you made up in the first place that wasn't reality is absolutely ludicrous, yes? But we're good at that, aren't we? And don't we always do that kind of stuff? We make up a situation the way it should be, and then it's not that, and so we beat ourselves up for not doing what we should have done. Whereas the should was the problem in the first place. This is all wizard work right now. The problem is that the problem isn't that you're not doing what you say you're going to do. The problem is that you created that reality or an expectation that was unclear, untrue, or not the rightful intention. Understand? And then you try to live into that, and you don't meet that, and then you beat yourself up. The issue is that the ego mind sets that up in order for the purpose so that you have a reason to beat yourself up. Its goal is to beat you up. You got to have a reason. So it creates the reality so you can beat yourself up. Do you understand this? Yes or yes? Watch how you do that to yourself. We all do it. Watch how slick that is. That system, that little loop there. This is what should be. It's not, so we'll beat ourselves up. Or we'll beat somebody else up. Yes? And we think that it's the should, that that's the reality, and the problem is the not meeting of that. We didn't meet it or they didn't meet it. That's not the problem. The problem is what we put out there in the first place. Got it? Okay, good. So, good or bad, right or wrong, everyone, as you remember, always does the best they can at the I can't hear you. And you did the best you could so far. Remember, there's no mistakes. What mistakes? No mistakes in the universe, meaning that what you've been doing is exactly what you're supposed to do as part of your path. And as I said earlier, what you had to go through in your search for your true path. Again, I'm going to remind you, sometimes you have to experience this in order to see that. Yes? And you may have had to experience everything you've had to experience in order for you to understand what you don't want. And then when you get something that's more in tune with who you are, you begin to recognize it. Otherwise, if you didn't have that, you just either wouldn't see this or you just let it go. Get it? Get it, yes or no? Yes. So your path was right for you at that time. So regardless, it's time to let go of the pain and the suffering of the past. And it's time to forgive yourself. I'll give you a quick example about what I was talking about earlier. I wanted to mention this. One of the things I always had in my mind, for some reason I was very social. I thought that I could entertain people fairly well from the standpoint of restaurants or opening a club or something like that. And from the time I was 18 years old, whenever I went to a club or a dance club or a restaurant, I always thought I could, I had some really good ideas around that. You know what I'm saying? Anybody else relate? You do something, you say, I could do better than that. This, sucks, right? And so, really just little certain things. Like, I always wanted to open up a dance club that was surrounded by a pool on the dance floor. So the dance floor was surrounded by a pool, right? So because you got really hot dancing, you just jump in the pool, get back on the dance floor, right? Good or good, yeah? I always had to run out, change my shirt and all that. So anyway, just all kinds of, so I decided, I said, you know what, I'd like to be in the restaurant business, because I think I could open some really great theme restaurants and all that. And so, I spent literally a couple of years in that whole arena thinking about it, drawing up plans and all that. And I said, okay, I've never even been in the restaurant business, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some experience. So I went out there and I started getting jobs in the restaurant business. This was actually in Fort Lauderdale. And I was a waiter, and I was a maitre d', and I was a wine captain, and I had 7 jobs in 9 weeks. And I would leave a place just because I was just only there. I wasn't there for the money. I never even collected a paycheck. If I got any tips, great. But in fact, I got fired from one place because I was the maitre d', and then I asked them in the same place. Anybody been to Fort Lauderdale at all? A place called Yesterday's. So it was a pretty classy place. And I asked them, as the maitre d' there, I asked them if I could be a busboy. He fired me on the spot because he thought I was mental, right? Who would ever ask to be a busboy? What are you, crazy? Get out of my restaurant, right? I just wanted to experience what busboys did so I could train a busboy, right? I had to go to Denny's across the street to be a busboy. That worked, right? Anyways, after 9 weeks, what do you think I found out? The last business I'd want to be in is a restaurant business. Just going through that kitchen, the smell just went, I can't stand. Yes? Now, for some of you, it's perfect, but for me, it was just not what. But thank goodness, I spent that time, and I realized right there and then, I tried that coat on, and it was really tight and terrible, right? It was just bad coat. Yes? Right. So very, very often you have to go through that. Again, regardless, it's time to let go of the pain and suffering of the past and to forgive yourself. Forgiveness is the magic cleanser. The magic what? Because when you fully forgive yourself from the past, only then are you free to move on to the future with what we want, which is a clean slate. I asked you to bring some photos. Would you like to do me a favor and bring out the photo right now of you in your current situation? In other words, photo of yourself as close to your current age as possible. If you don't have a photo, then if you have a mirror, that could work. A mirror, that works. A little hand mirror. Or you'll just have to do this in your mind. All righty. Now, I'd like you to put down your notebooks and your pens, but keep your photo with you. Sitting up straight. Close your eyes and just relax. Arms uncrossed, legs uncrossed. Take a nice deep breath. Let it out. And once again, deep breath in. And let it out. And I'd like you to put the hand that's not holding the photo onto your heart, please. And open your eyes and look at the photo of yourself. Or imagine seeing yourself in the mirror. If you don't have a photo or mirror, then just imagine yourself. Imagine seeing yourself. And I want you to repeat the following quietly but out loud. And speak to your photo or the mirror or the image you have of yourself in your mind. In other words, you're speaking to yourself directly to you, as if you're there, alive, in person, right in front of you. Again, quietly but out loud. Start with your name. I understand you did the best you could with the conditioning and knowledge you had. I now totally forgive you for any mistakes of the past. I now totally release you from sadness, guilt, shame, anger, and fear in your work life, or your direction, or your results. I now release you from the past and encourage you to live fully from the present. You now have a clean and fresh start. Today you can re-choose everything and anything in your life. Recognize today as the first day of the rest of your new life. Make sure you use it purposefully and joyfully. Close your eyes, please. Put both your hands on your heart. Put the photo down. And I want you to feel yourself accepting yourself fully. And feel the feeling of compassion for yourself. Just feel what compassion feels like, as if you were going to be compassionate with somebody else. But feel that for you. You really have been trying. You really have done the best you could with what you had at that time. You're a learner. You're willing to take action. Trying so hard, doing the best you can. And you're doing pretty good. Feel compassion for yourself. Be willing to love yourself unconditionally, no matter what's going on in your life. No matter where you're at. No matter who you are right now. Just be willing for right this moment, love yourself totally and unconditionally right now. No expectations. No, when I am this, or when I do this, or when I have that. Just right now. Totally and fully. And keeping your eyes closed, take your arms and hug yourself, please. Just hug yourself. And hold yourself. Okay, you remember these. So the idea is to put your hand on your heart here and feel the resonance of each of these statements. We're going to read these statements right now, but as this program progresses, by the end of this program, you will not only own these statements will be who you are. Yes? Yes. Right, well, first you got to read them before you answer. All right. Hand on your heart. Feel the resonance. Let me hear you. I am important. Give somebody a high five and say, you make a difference.